This is a comparison between the new Huawei Mate 10 Pro and the Mate 10. The Huawei Mate 10 has a 6-inch display, full quad HD resolution, fingerprint scanner below. The Mate 10 Pro is different in that respect. The screen's 6 inches, it is an 18:9 display, better than full HD but not quite quad HD, and the fingerprint scanner is around the back. Otherwise, these are very similar devices. Metal frames, glass front and backs, and very powerful with big batteries. I'm going to start with the front. Both have 8 megapixel front cameras. You've got a Huawei insignia below the Mate 10 Pro screen versus a fingerprint scanner on the Mate 10. Right hand side, volume rockers and power buttons. The Mate 10 Pro also doesn't have a headphone jack, whereas the Mate 10 does have one up at the top. Both have USB-Cs at the base, loudspeakers, and the front speaker is also, or front in-call speaker, is also a loudspeaker, giving you a stereo effect. Now, if we take a look around the back, both of these devices have dual cameras with optical image stabilization on the main sensor, main lens. The sensors are 12 megapixels for the RGB sensor and 20 megapixels for the monochrome sensor, and they have the same field of view across both. They have 4-type autofocus. That's phase detection, cross-type autofocus, depth perception. I can't even remember them all, but 4 types of autofocus, specifically laser autofocus, is the one that wins for me 9 times out of 10. They also pack the new version of Emotion UI, albeit on different screens. The IPS display on the Mate 10 gets up to 720 nits of brightness or something super bright, but the Mate 10 Pro, the AMOLED display, just has that depth, has that punch, has that pop. Side by side though, they both look good, and they run Emotion UI. Emotion UI either has an applications tray or it doesn't, as you can see on the left hand side. It also has this little nubbin that you can drag up, drag down in order to do stuff like pull down your notifications tray, or swipe to the right in order to activate multitasking, or swipe to the left in order to activate your back button or multitasking. It's all to get rid of the stuff below the screen so you can make maximum use of the screen real estate. There's also an option to, when you get a notification, open that notification in split screen view. So you just tap through on it and it will open the app you're using already in one half of the screen and the other app in the other half of the screen. Now, if we take a look at the cameras across both, they are identical, which is great. No preference for one over another. And they're also both very smart. You can see as I point it at foliage, it knows I'm pointing it at foliage. If I point it at flowers, it thinks I'm pointing it at a flower. If I point it at my hand, which is none of the above, then it knows I'm pointing it at my hand. You will have seen a little icon change in the bottom left-hand corner, and that is where all of the action happens. Huawei claims this is more intelligent than your regular point-and-shoot camera with scene detection, largely owing to that 970 chipset and the integration with AI into Emotion UI 8. Power under the hood is that Kirin 970 with a new Mali GPU. Looking forward to seeing how it benchmarks, how it performs in general. 4 gigabytes of RAM on the Mate 10 versus 6 gigabytes of RAM on the Mate 10 Pro, 64 gigabytes of storage on the Mate 10 with micro SD card expansion options versus 128 gigabytes versus with no micro SD card expansions. So there are a few other key differences under the hoods of these things, and of course that IP67 water and dust resistance on the Mate 10 Pro is not going to be available on the Mate 10. But having said that, which one's right for you? I'd probably still pick the Mate 10 Pro even without that headphone jack, specifically because in hand it feels a lot better. Feels kind of like an LG G6, but knowing inside it has a 4000 milliamp battery and a better camera setup than the G6, I would be much more inclined to get one of these. But would I be more inclined to get it over something like an LG V30? That is a much tougher call. If you want to know how these two stack up, check out my LG V30 versus Mate 10 Pro video also on the channel. But this has been a Mate 10 versus Mate 10 Pro video. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you have, click that thumbs up button, like the channel, subscribe. It's how you stay on top of everything